CruNation! Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the CruNation Show. I'm your host, Austin Woodard, and I'm happy to be kicking off this season after a win against the OKC Elite, but we'll get to that in the next segment. Happy to be joined by wide receiver Sam Sturgis and outside linebacker Pete Edwards. Guys, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right. You guys may remember these guys from last season. We did a player profile on each one of them. Both of them repeat offenders to the CruNation Show, but we're happy to have them. And guys, 2016 season's underway. A lot of things to get to and talk about. Sam, Pete, why don't you give us a little bit of what's new and fans can expect this season of the Joplin Crusaders?
Well, I think it's going to be a fun year. You know, we've got Skylar Dooley stepped up to be our starting quarterback this year. He's a versatile quarterback. He can throw the ball. He can run the ball. He's going to be exciting to watch this season, I think. So, you know, he's a great wide receiver for us last year. Did what he needed to do when he stepped in at quarterback for us a little bit last year. Kind of gave us that extra edge. He'd remind you a lot of Matt Thompson for those that have followed us over the years. So he's a fun quarterback to watch, and we've got a lot of young faces this year. A lot of young faces. So
yeah, going down through the rosters, guys I haven't had a chance to meet yet, but they turned out in a big way Saturday night. Both on the offensive side of the ball, you got guys like Terrell Johnson, you got guys like Trey Nash in his second year. Folks weren't able to come join us out at the games, and you'll find out who he is pretty quick. And the same way with Terrell. Then on the defensive side of the ball, guys like Brandon Krause stepped up in a big way. And Pete, take us through some of the new guys that we'll see on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, we have Brandon. He's a new outside linebacker. We have
Scotty did a great job. He's another outside linebacker. Yeah. I mean, he
very fresh.
Played well. Had good lockup defense.
We use I don't know the names.
DeAndre Coleman was another one. DeAndre Coleman. Matter of fact, he had a phenomenal game. This is his second season, but he definitely he came out and showed out in a big way. I mean, opening kickoff, he ran it back and took us back with inside the 10. But his defense is phenomenal. His game definitely stepped up this year.
And they're definitely, we kind of got used. Commonplace was seeing the same names, same places on both sides of the football, but got a good mix of young and old. And the one thing you get when you got new faces is how they're going to adapt to how things go, especially with a team as seasoned as the Crusaders, being around as long as we have, having the same fortunate enough to have the same coaching staff. As veterans, what do you take those guys aside and kind of tell them what's expected of them, or tell them just kind of guide them as it goes along?
I think they rub off. You know, they set the example, they lead, and people follow. They're very skilled at what they do. They're very humble at what they do, and they're very hungry at what they do. And it definitely feeds to the younger generation.
I think with tradition, I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, you see it in all the great programs, no matter what level it is. I mean, even at Webb City, all the way up to, someone like Pitt State as far as a college, the expectation when there's that history there, that foundation, as guys begin to retire, but veterans are still sticking around, they keep the old ways, they teach these young kids. Man, we talked about how our organization just lays the hat, no matter if it's offensively, defensively, whatever it is, that we hit people in the mouth, and that we're just going to keep coming for four quarters. And I think a lot of those young guys stepped up this weekend and showed that.
And one of the big things that's been kind of got the wheels rolling in the last couple seasons, but it's really it has a name, it's taken off, the Crew Cares initiative. Part of that this season is not only going to the elementary schools and mentoring kids, but we're helping those kids that are a little bit less fortunate on game days. Sam, tell us a little bit about the initiative and the partnership with the Joplin Youth Football Association.
Yeah, I mean, we're working with Joplin Youth Football now. I mean, we've got a couple things going this year. In July, we're working on a youth camp The main focus is with Joplin Youth Football is to help those kids that don't have that funding to basically be able to play. We're going to create a scholarship fund through Joplin Youth Football, so that way those kids can play without a cost to play. Our main focus behind it is even if their parents don't have the money for cleats and things like that, we're going to help with that. We're going to help with their admission fees for Joplin Youth Football, any of the little things that they need, so that way they can compete and be a part of the program. Our goal is to try to help Joplin Youth Football to get their enrollment up. We want to see Joplin football from the youth all the way up to the high school level really excel over the next few years, and we want to be a part of that. And so this summer, we're putting on a football camp in July, as well as every home game. We're doing 50-50 drawing. They're running our concession stands. We're paying them for that. So, anything we can do to help give back for that, that's a definite big part of our organization this year. Youth is everything for us. We constantly go to the schools and read to the kids. Every year we partner with Children's Miracle Network, which we're doing this year. I talked with Heather and Blake over there the other day to try to get that going. So we'll have some more of that coming soon too.
You can't help but smile when you get to spend time with the kids and be able to do something for them on any given day. How do you feel about being able to do that?
It is an overwhelming pleasure to be able to go and read to the children at Stapleton. They enjoy seeing us. After a certain time, they recognize us by name even, and I tell you, they touch. I don't know who it's more important for, us players or the children. I tell you the honest God truth, but it's a blessing when it comes down to it, So
some new things that the fans may not have seen coming, but I probably wouldn't have seen. Joplin Crusader gear is now available at Pro Image Sporting Goods in the mall. So if you're coming out to a game, you can always go get loaded up on your gear at Pro Image. We're thankful to have them as a sponsor and carry all the Crusader gear this year.
Yeah.
It's a great partnership and just helping this thing get bigger and bigger every year.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this first segment. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Coach Brenda Gabera. We're going to take a look at last week's season opener of the 2016 season against the OKC Elite. Stay with us. Welcome back to CruNation, coming to you from Gasano's in Joplin. Still joined by Pete Edwards, and happy to be joined now by co-head coach Brenda Gabera. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Austin. Good to be here.
Good to see you again. Welcome back. And now we're going to take a look back at the season opener, the 2016 season, the Crusade for 4 in a row. Joplin Crusaders kick off against the Oklahoma City Elite. Let's get to those highlights, brought to you by Light 'em Up Video Productions. Take the opening kickoff and start. You look good on the opening drive coming out. Skylar Dooley taking the reins at quarterback this season. How do you feel about his progression? He's still a young cat, but he's finally getting the start at quarterback.
Oh, Skylar's a young man. He graduated high school, 9 months ago,
Yeah,
10 months
like
ago.
that.
Skylar, he's not an unknown though. He played for us last year and did some Wildcats type stuff for us. And he's a tremendous athlete and a tremendous competitor. That's what sticks out in my mind about Skylar is he walks on that football field and he wants to be the best player on the field. He wants the ball in his hand come crunch time. And he's got a little experience playing quarterback in high school, but this was his first start at the quarterback position. And I told him before the game, just let the game come to you. And in the first half, he did. He used his legs a little bit. He created, did some things on his own. I think he ended up running for, you got stats, 70, 75 yards on the night, I think, if I'm not mistaken, whether it be scrambling or off our read option game. And when he did those things and let the game come to him, he played really well. He spun the ball well a couple times, too. He threw some really nice passes that, we weren't sure if we were going to get that out of him or not, but his footwork was good. He stood tall, stepped small, did the things we're asking him to do.
I would say the one thing that stood out in the game Saturday night was his ability to do both, pass and run. He made the read option game look very crisp early on, especially. And then he throws, like you said, he throws a great ball down the field.
Skylar enables us to run the style of offense we want to run. It's more of the style back when we had Al and Clay Lassiter and those guys, the quarterbacks, from the past there who could run and throw both. And Skylar's, more athletic and younger definitely than those guys, and he brings a little more to the table in terms of running, but he throws it very well.
And we saw a lot of distribution going around, and we'll hit on Skylar. He was 5 for 11 passing with 143 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. but running the ball, he had 12 carries for 68 yards and a touchdown. He had to contribute there. But then you got the new faces like Skylar, and you got Terrell Johnson, who we talked about in the opening block of the show, stepping up, a new face, 2 receptions for 36 yards and a TD, and also ran a couple end rounds, giving that multifaceted offense a different look and throwing different things at the defense. He had 2 carries for 18 yards. And we're going to flip to the other side of the ball, Pete, on the defensive side, your expertise there. And you talk about the mix of old and young. Talk about some of the guys that we have. A new Brandon Krause, an outside linebacker, definitely showed up Saturday night in a big way. But then you got guys like DeAndre and Walter Coleman, the brothers in the backfield, and Tay Love especially. And you got guys like Antoine Dyer, yourself, and Jordan Hiley. Talk about how the defense came out and was prepared to handle that OKC elite offense.
It was tough nose. We played in the backfield quite a bit that our first game, which was nice. We had a lot of plays for a loss. The defense, our corners didn't let anything over the top. We were spaced a lot of times inside the 20-yard line, and probably a handful of times, and to allow just field goal after field goal, that was really encouraging. Our defensive line is probably the biggest surprise, other than a couple new faces. We were able to shift multiple people in and keep the rotation so fresh that it was nice to see that.
Mm-hmm. And it was nice to see guys flying around and making plays on the field, especially with the season opener. Some guys got to get their legs underneath them a bit, because you had the lead going into the halftime, 18-3, and defense was pretty dominant. But of course, like any good team, like giving all credit to the Oklahoma City Elite, that you make adjustments when something's not working. And they came out and made a lot of adjustments on their offensive side. Once after a couple series, what was the feel on the defensive side? What adjustments did you have to make to counter those?
Well, we started out in our typical 3-5 base, and then they went to a quicker pace and no huddle. So we switched to a 4 shell, and we worked on containing the quarterback. He got out a few times, but we really wanted him to throw the ball because we felt like there was opportunities there for our corners to make plays. Mm-hmm. They were there. Mm-hmm. We was able to. When it came down to it and we shrunk the field, that's when we did our most damage and didn't allow them anything at all.
So. Secondary showed up very well, had their opportunities. A lot of times, it's still early in the season. They'll make the most of them as time. And it was raining too. Ball gets a little slick. But it was very encouraging to see those plays being made all around the field. And then, of course, you talk about the defensive on the special team side. No play was bigger than Tay Love's blocked field goal there at the end of the game. But all in all, coming away from last Saturday's season opener, Coach, like you said, there's plenty of stuff to work on, but the future looks bright for the Crusaders in the 2016 season.
Yeah, it does. Just hats off to the defense. Once again, we were talking between the break there. There's games where the offense shows up and it's lights out, and the defense doesn't necessarily hold down the fort like we're used to being. And then there's nights like last night where the defense kind of has to come through in the end to help out the offense. And we set them up with terrible field position a couple times. Left them on the field way too much in the second half, but those guys are champions, man. Our defense is the reason we're champions year in and year out, and so hats off to them.
Yeah, it was definitely a good win to come away with, hard-earned victory, and that was good to see in the season opener. All right, we're going to cut to commercial. When we come back, we'll take a look at the offensive and defensive plays of the game. Coming to you from Gasano's in Joplin. Stay with us. Welcome back to the CruNation Show, first episode of the 2016 season. We're going to take a look back to last week's season opener against the OKC Elite with the offensive and defensive plays of the game.
Alone, in spite of the fact that some people still think that they know, but no, he knows the code. It's not about the salary, it's all about That's right, keep clapping, y'all.
Keep me, I got you,
Keep playing
homie.
with us. Turn it up. Let's go
We
get
the
it, G.
race here, homie. Let's get it.
This is the night of it. The night of it. Get up, go get up, go get up. And the club, you see a bad thing going on. Yeah, you're damn right, you're damn right, go get up, go get up, go get up.
And those were your offensive and defensive plays of the game from the season opener against the OKC Elite. You had the offensive play of the game, the 8-yard slant and go from Skylar Dooley to Terrell Johnson for the touchdown. And then, of course, the real play of the game, which just happens to be the defensive play of the game, was the blocked field goal at the end of the game with 9 seconds left by none other than our own Tay Love. Tay, why don't you break us down on that play and what all happened on that?
Well, we know we was in a situation where it was either win or overtime, and we was at the point we really didn't want to go into overtime. So we knew it was 4 seconds to go on the clock, and me and Cleveland originally got to the line, and we had just said that what we was about to do on that play or whatnot. So he told me he'll crack down, he'll go down hard. That way that defender on the end will come block him first, and exactly that's what happened. And left me a wide open spot to the ball. I just dove out, prayed to God that I hit the ball, and sure enough, I got a chance to block the field goal.
And we were kind of joking about this off camera. Is normally when you have a blocked field goal like that makes a thud. That was a car crash of a sound. But you can't, like you said, Cleveland came down and got the blocker to bite on him, and you had a wide open shot. And you're talking about how you weren't quite sure where the ball went because the crowd response was that you thought they might have picked it up and ran it in after the fact.
Right. Yeah, so I turned around after I heard a thump. I rolled over, and then I looked back, and next thing I know, I seen DeAndre had the ball, and the ball was going out of bounds. But, it just happened that we had the opportunity to play a good team like that and come back and pull off a good win.
And, Coach, the offensive play of the game, he had the 8-yard slant and go from Skylar Dooley to Terrell Johnson. We talked about Terrell earlier in the show as being one of the key additions, and he's one of the new faces on the team that really showed up Saturday night.
Yeah, he did. Terrell played real well. And, what we noticed on that drive in particular, we do some stack stuff, some stack formations with our outside receivers, and we were in stack a little bit before that. And the way they were playing their defensive leverage, we knew we could get them to the outside, so we ran a little pick move. We ran the outside guy on the slant and ran Terrell up the sideline on the wheel, and Skylar threw a great ball, man. I think he looked like a quarterback on that play. That's the kind of ball we're accustomed to Jalvin Crusader quarterbacks throwing. And Terrell made a play similar to some of our receivers in the past, and it makes us forget some of those other guys from time to time when you got the new guys that want to step up and make plays like that.
And that definitely says, living up to the standard that's been set over the past seasons by the Crusaders. And you got to get, like we said, guys like Terrell and Brandon Krause on the defensive side of the ball. That's what it takes to have this amount of success every year is new guys coming in, mixing with the veterans, and learning how Crusader football is played. That's a look back to the season opener. The 2016 season and the crusade for 4 in a row continues this weekend at the Arkansas Raptors. Now, Coach, you got a long drive ahead of you. What are some of the factors going into a long road game like this?
Well, we've had longer.
Yeah,
you've been part of some of those, traveling down
yes,
to
I have.
Oklahoma
in the back of somebody's van.
Yeah, in the back of a van, and But no, it's the road games are always tough, especially at this level, because you really don't know week to week how well you're going to travel, especially for those long road games. But we're confident that our guys will show up and play, and going down to Russellville, Arkansas. The Raptors are a developmental league team, but they're not a bad football team at all. There's a little bit of film on them that we've seen on the internet. They're offensively, they're two-back spread style. They'll run the ball. They got a big running back who's a bruiser. Their quarterback will run around, throw a little bit. They're capable of doing some nice things on the offensive side of the ball and causing us some problems. And defensively, they're capable of causing some problems too. They're a 4-3-3-4 team, cover 2 shell over the top. They're going to press us on the corners. They're going to blitz, especially if they get a load of the film from Oklahoma City this week. We struggle with the blitz, and we're going too early in the season. But once we get our entire screen game in and our perimeter screens in and stuff, we'll be fine. And that's stuff that's going to be in the game plan this week, going down to Arkansas to try to eliminate that.
And probably factoring in some of the shorter intermediate routes. Like you said, the Oklahoma City Elite seemed like they teed off, but a lot of times it just seemed like they were sending more that could be blocked at the time.
They did, and one thing, looking back at last week, we ran the ball 35 times and we threw the ball 11. I can't remember a single offensive game in my history coaching the Joplin Crusaders where we've been that one-dimensional running the football. Normally it's the other way around, or we're close to 50-50, and part of that was because of what they were doing defensively. And we're still trying to mesh up front. You know, we picked up a nice addition to our offensive line this year, and we're still trying to get the right combination going and shore up our pass protection. But yeah, you know, short intermediate routes, screen game's gonna be big, and in our inside zone, we got to be able to pop inside zone and run the football this week.
Well, with that offensive line and showing signs of the way the holes they were opening up Saturday night, I don't think that'd be a problem. Tay, on the defensive side of the ball, like Coach said, got a bruiser, a running back, and got a quarterback that likes to run around. Definitely got a taste of that from last week. What are the defensive factors going into a mobile quarterback and a bruising running back like that?
Well, you know, we got to keep our momentum and you know, play our football, play Crusader defense. We know what we got to do on a week-to-week base. You know, like I say, the running game, we done played running back tougher than that guy, and you know, we just gonna do what we do. We're gonna go out there and play Crusaders defense, play Crusader football like we do every week, and hopefully we can come out with a win next week.
Big thank you to Casanos for hosting the show. I'm Austin Woodard for Coach Cabrera, Tay Love, Sam Sturgis, and Pete Edwards. Thanks for joining us on CruNation. We'll see you next week.
Hey, you come here because we're the best around. We're going to continue to be the best. Remember what I talked about? You have to sacrifice. One thing that we ask that you sacrifice tonight is your body. You have to throw it around like you've got another one at home. Because that's what distinguishes us from everybody else. They leave our field knowing that they've been played, knowing that they've been hit. And they don't ever want to come back. That team will not be the same team after tonight.